A tidal wave of shit.
Well, I was going to say swill, but shit works as well. Anyway, let's move on and talk about Russia. Speaking of shit, let's talk about Russia and Europe. Oh, God, everyone in Russia and Europe loves us, right?
No, God, no. Bunch of dumbasses on YouTube is what they say to themselves every week. I mean, it's just...
And they keep watching because people love to be outraged. And hatred is a powerful emotion. I watch this because I hate it. That's what people do. Have you ever found yourself listening to talk radio that you hate just because you love disagreeing with them? You're like, well, they're idiots. Oh, can you believe that idiot thinks this way? That's us to you, right? Right? All right. Anyway, Russia and Europe, they want to go to the moon and make a colony because we're really focused on Mars. NASA's focused on Mars. Elon Musk is focused on Mars. Everyone's Mars, Mars, Mars. We've already been to the moon. It's old news. We're American. We stuck a flag in the damn thing, if you believed it. If you believe some guy who lives in a trailer in the middle of New Mexico with 1 million cats, then no, we didn't go to the moon. I'm gonna believe NASA. Anyway, that's the man.
I've seen the shadows.
Man.
The shadows bend a weird way. It can't. It was a thing.
Yeah, shadows in the earth never do that. Ooh. Anyway, where was I? So, Russia, they want to go make a colony on the moon. So they're up there looking around on the pole because there's ice on the pole and that sort of thing, and they're saying, we need to go make a thing on the moon because we got the International Space Station and all that, so we need to go to the moon. But Russia actually said, hey, we want to go up there and build a colony, and it's going to be freaking expensive, and it's the moon. It's way over there, and it's totally different. It's not like building a house in, it's kind of like North Dakota, but not like Kansas. Like North Dakota. So the moon is similar to North Dakota, or maybe somewhere north, like, I don't know, something inhospitable. So Europe, the EU was like, hey, we'll do it, man. It'd be cool. We'll all get together and work on this. And China's also thinking about going up there and doing some things too. So in the next 20 years or so, they say by 2020 they're going to send out some rovers and that sort of thing to check it out, look around. But they're focusing more on the moon as the next base instead of Mars as the next base. That might be a smart first step because it's a lot closer to home, and instead of going all the way to Mars. So we probably should have had a moon base already.
Yeah, the bad thing about the moon is that because there hasn't been wind, the dust on the moon is insanely abrasive. That was one of the things that they didn't really expect to encounter on the moon landing. But yeah, any kind of moving parts or moving anything is going to get worn excessively. And it's probably going to be really bad for humans because breathing in that kind of sharp dust, it's going to be difficult for the mechanisms in our body that's designed for when we breathe in dust to deal with that kind of thing. And so I think that part will be bad. I do think that getting to the moon before we get to Mars makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. And I think that because of radiation and a whole bunch of other things, we'll probably be living in underground lava tubes on the moon. I think that's the best strategy for living on the moon with the least resources and the most likely to work. But the dust is going to be a huge problem.
This is from the YouTube chat here. The dust on Windows' ass is abrasive.
Well, there you go.
Yes, that's 100% factual evidence from the wonderful YouTube comment system. All right, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Going to turn the lemons into explosive lemons, and you guys are just going to have to deal.
Get that in your eye, why don't you? Neil deGrasse Tyson has something to say about SpaceX. SpaceX, we report on those guys a lot because Elon Musk is groovy and all that. But he's saying that it's a delusion that SpaceX is going to lead the space frontier. And he's specifically talking about, SpaceX's trip to Mars or, Elon Musk's desire to, start a colony there because we need to be an interplanetary species as quickly as possible. So I think this is actually really hilarious here because he said that you're going to need a lot of money to go to Mars and you're going to have to pitch some, people with money, some businesses, banks, capitalists, and that sort of thing. And it's going to be sort of like sitting down. I'll read this because it's hilarious. And like, hey, I've got an idea. I want to put the first humans on Mars. And they'll say, well, how much is that going to cost? Oh, it's going to cost a lot. Yeah. Well, okay, it's going to cost a lot. Well, is it dangerous? Oh, yeah, people are going to die. Yeah, it's very dangerous. A lot of people are going to die. Okay, well, what's the return on investment? Probably nothing. So that's the pitch that he's going to have to go through right there. It'll be a really quick meeting. And that's probably how it's going to go. So he's going to have to rely upon government funding. A lot of that goes to NASA, so he's not going to get as much of it. But when you're doing something like this, it's really the government who's going to be the one behind it, saying, like, we need to do this as as a nation, as a species, I'm channeling JFK in a fucking weird way. I don't even know. We need to get out there and do this. So it's not going to be SpaceX, probably.
See, I don't. There've been like Elon Musk, I think, was very upset by this type of comment, if not this comment specifically.
Yeah, but
Because
this
there are
time
a
it's
lot
from
of
Neil
other
deGrasse
people.
Tyson. You know, like
Yes.
normally it's been from other people but now it's from Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's known as an authority on space, and he's got all kinds of clout.
I don't know. This is really. I really would like to learn more about the historical context of when we went to the moon the first time, because I'm pretty sure that even though NASA was in charge and NASA had a bunch of money to spend, that the situation was that NASA was going to the Lockheed Martins of the world and saying, hey, we need to get there. How do we do this? And, the Dow Cornings of the world and the other companies like that. I don't see that SpaceX would, they would totally be interested in playing that kind of role if that's what's going on. It's just that they're not, NASA and the federal government is not spending the money the way that they were in the space program in the 60s. And so I really don't understand the concept, what's going on with these comments, because, is it SpaceX versus Lockheed Martin? Is it SpaceX versus whatever? Or do these guys think that there's not enough academic involvement? Because, NASA did have a lot of academic involvement in university research and things like that. But there's also a lot of stuff that was handled by defense contractors as well. And so I would really like to know how this exactly played out in the 60s for the space program, and later in the 70s and 80s, and how this played out for the shuttle program, because there were a lot of contractors that handled a lot of stuff. And so are they just upset that SpaceX is not going through NASA and NASA NASA academics, I guess, the academic layer, is that the real problem here, that the academic layer is missing? Because I'm pretty sure if you said that Musk would fix it, because Musk is just eccentric super genius that wants to go to space and have a good time, and I can respect that.
He also has a very good track record of people telling him that, hey, you can't do that, it's impossible, you can't do it, there's not enough money, and him just being like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it anyway, and you are off the team. Oh, and he's like, oh, okay. So he has a way of just plowing through negativity, and even people who work there have said, like, if I come to him and say it can't be done, he will fire me or move me to a different team and say, like, all right, well, you used to be the leader of this team. You're no longer the leader of this team. I am the leader of this team. And he will take over and run the project and be the point guy on that project, as well as many other things. I don't know how the man ever does it. How does he sleep? Does he have a girlfriend? What does he do? Does he go out to eat? How does he... I don't know how he does it. Like, really, I do not know how he does it. So, I don't know. He seems like he might be able to plow through this, and I don't know. Neil deGrasse Tyson. So, I don't know what you guys think in the comments here about this. I do think they'll need plenty of money, but at the same time, even if there's risks, tons of money involved, and all that sort of thing, a lot of companies might look at this and say, you know what? Being part of the first colony on Mars, or part of the first mission to Mars, or something like that, it's going to cost a lot, but it'll keep us around for many, many years. It'll be it's publicity. It's an enormous amount of publicity, global publicity, to have your name attached to something like that. So there could be a layer of prestige, a layer of publicity, and a layer of that sort of thing that maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson has not fully considered in this, and maybe companies would be willing to do that if they're slightly also altruistic, Who knows? Anyway, let's move on here. What's next on the list? Oh, Blue Origin. That's the company that's backed by the Dread Pirate Bezos. God, he's probably making a lot of money today. That's the CEO of Amazon. So he's got his own company here. It's going out to space, and they did something that's a bit interesting. They actually sent a rocket up 100 kilometers, way up there. That's 329,839 feet, or 100.5 kilometers, up into space, and then it returned and landed perfectly the first time. Unlike the first few times that Elon Musk tried it, it went up and came back down and didn't work, SpaceX. So the idea of having a reusable rocket is really interesting and very attractive. You could use these. That's going to save them so much money when they're going up and back into space. So yeah, pretty impressive landing too. I was impressed. It was 4 feet off the mark, or a little bit over a meter if you're anywhere else in the world.
It's
pretty
really,
impressive.
really impressive piece of engineering. I mean, it really is.
I think it's pretty. You know, say what you will about the Dread Pirate Bezos, Jeff Bezos, but I think it's really interesting that he is also now getting into this game as well. So cool, very promising. Pretty soon they're gonna paint the moon with Amazon colors, and yeah, that's just what's gonna happen. I've decided. We're talking about outer space a lot. Why not? Let's just talk about what's going to happen to Mars in about 10 to 20 years. Phobos, the moon. But isn't
10 to
part of
20
Dune?
years. You can see it in your telescope right now. It's beginning to happen. No.
Yeah, Phobos is just shredding to pieces. It's just falling apart, and yeah, 10 to 20 years. Okay. In 10 to 20 million years, Phobos is slowly falling toward Mars. Phobos has lots of cracks and fissures. Is that the right word? Yeah. It's probably going to be pulled apart by the planet. Like, as it gets closer, the pull from Mars is going to rip little pieces of it off. And some of it will hit Mars, but more than likely it'll be pulled apart and turned into a ring. So Mars will have a nice ring. It does have a nice ring to it. So by the time we get there in 10 to 20 million years, if we haven't blown each other up, we'll be hanging out on Mars. We'll have it terraformed. 10 to 20 million years is probably enough time to terraform the planet. We'll probably look totally different. How are we going to look in 10 years? This is all bar conversation for later. Yeah, I think it'll look pretty cool. Hanging out there with a giant... I've always wanted to live on a planet with rings. That would look really cool. I mean, Northern Lights are one thing, but rings, you know, that's really cool. So yeah, Mars will probably have rings. Yeah, we could. Yeah, go cryo
Take the
and
slow
then
path into the future.
yeah. I've always wanted to hike Olympus Mons as well, which is the highest mountain in the